Hey, in this video we'll have a look at how to manually modify the shape of the voxel world. To do that we have a few tools which are available from this list of buttons. Clicking a button will select the corresponding tool and show its control panel. We have a few question marks on those panels and there are tooltips to help us. And we have a general one here that will display all the controls. So when we're ready, we can enable the edit mode here and start sculpting. As a rule of thumb, the left click will generally apply the effect by adding terrain, while the right click will apply the effect by removing terrain. We can scroll the mouse wheel up and down to increase or decrease the size of the brush, which can be seen here. And by pressing the Shift key and scrolling the mouse wheel, we can rotate the brush, which is not visible with that brush, but will become useful when using pictures here. We can undo or redo our past actions, either by clicking those buttons or by using the standard Ctrl-Z, Ctrl-Y shortcuts. An important thing to know is that this history can eat up a lot of memory, so it will be cleared every time we leave the edit mode. So as soon as we quit this mode, we won't be able to undo our past actions. If we're not satisfied with what we've done, we can clear all manual changes by using this button here, which is protected by the usual two-steps security mechanism. The next thing to remember is that all our changes are local until we apply them with one of the apply buttons. Only then will they be sent to all clients, so don't forget to apply. The tools are pretty much all working the same way, so I'm not going to review each of them. But two of them are a bit special and deserve some attention, so I'm going to give them a bit more time. The first one is the sphere tool. It is special because it allows us to create matter out of thin air. When we select it, by default the sphere is in the air at a chosen distance from us. We can of course change its distance, its radius, and we have options to choose the way it will move in the air, but for now we'll keep the default settings. So the sphere is special because it can be created in the air, and we can expand from it using the other tools. Okay. We can also send it underground and right click to create a giant spherical cave that again can be dressed up using all the other tools. Alright, so that's the sphere tool. The second special tool is certainly the star of this show. It's the surface tool. At first glance it doesn't look so impressive, but it has a secret weapon. And because it shares this weapon with the painting tool, they had to share their UI, which makes this panel much more intimidating than it should be. So let's have a look at how it's organized. We've got three important things on this panel: the sculpting tool, the painting tool, which is currently grayed here, and the brush that can be used with both of them, and that is grayed here. We can select the sculpting or painting tool with those boxes. The painting tool will be described in its own dedicated tutorial video, so it's out of the way for this one. And we can enable the brush using this box. So how does it work? Once the brush is enabled, we can select a picture in this list. We're going to select a hill, and we have two kinds of pictures, some black and white and some in colors. We'll take this one that looks like a clown puke, so I can explain you two important things before going on. The first thing is what a picture is. Any picture is made of 4 channels, one for each base color: red, green and blue. and one for the transparency called the alpha channel. The alpha channel is not always there though. For example, JPEG pictures don't have an alpha channel, that's why JPEG can't be transparent. Each channel encodes the amount of its corresponding color. So the takeaway here is that every color picture contains in fact 4 black and white pictures. The second thing is what a height map is. A height map is just a black and white picture that is used to encode the height. Generally black is the ground and white is the altitude. So all in all, any color picture potentially contains 4 height maps for us. We can now understand those strange pictures. They are just regular pictures, but their channels contain completely different information. So they are literally 4 pictures in one. So let's pick up a channel. We can now use it as a brush to create or remove terrain. Actually, I'm going to set a strength of 0.3 so it's well visible. So we can left click to create terrain or right click to remove it. We have around 200 or 300 pictures in this list, and many of them contain 4 different channels. So all in all, we may have about 500 available images in this list. That's cool, but that's only scratching the surface, because the real good news is that we can in fact pick up any picture from the internet. For that, we have to use this address bar here. It works exactly like the one used for the internet pawns. If the address starts with HTTP, YAG will try to download it from the net, and if not, it will look for it in its local image directory. As a reminder, the image directory is located here in My Documents, My Game, YAG, Client, Images. So technically we're pretty much done here, and in the rest of this video I'm just going to show you a few examples. So I'm going to set the fall off to 0 here to get the full rectangle of each picture. So let's start with something fun. Control C, Control V. We'll be using this picture, taking a bit of altitude, going into edit mode and applying. So I give you the Kitten Mountains. I guess it's not super playable, as you can see, but it's kind of spectacular in its own way. So I wanted it to be in this video. Then we've got the Spider Dungeon. If you know me, you know it's an old favorite of mine. And actually this one will be more playable. I'm staying on 0, 1 here. We don't need it too big. And as you can see, this one is actually a really playable dungeon. Okay. So then I'd like to show you that black and white combined with left and right clicks can actually make 4 different combinations. So let's use a picture and the same picture with inverted colors. So let's try with this cave here, which is white on black. And I'm going left click, then right click, and I will now load a different picture which is the same but with inverted colors, so black on white. And then I'm going to left click and then right click. There we go. So you can see we have 4 different effects using the shape itself on and off, or the background on and off. Okay, so don't forget that all that is possible. We can also use less natural shapes. For example, I'm going to load here a dungeon. Let's clear that. And printing our dungeon here. Okay, so it's kind of nice, as you can see. And there is something I didn't do with the previous picture, but don't forget that we can also sculpt anything on it. So for example here, I'm going to use the flattening tool, reduce it a bit, to create, for example, a nice bridge. Okay, so we can use it to make a bridge, or for example to close a wall. Like so. Okay, there. All right. And of course we've been using only black and white pictures, but we can also use some shades of gray. So this complex structure here is a nice example. Oops, Control V. Let's come back here. I'm going to set the fall off to 0, and I'm going to need a strength of 0.4. And we can now clear that. And increase the size of the brush. Okay, that should do it. All right. So, as you can see, you can give some very nice structures. But let me put a pawn here to remind you of the scale. Oh, let's set one here by default. We don't need anything fancy. So it's really a huge structure, okay? And it's not amazing given our precision limit of 1 meter, but it could be used for adventures. Don't forget that changing the texture will give different flavors. So, for example, we could, where is it? Here. For example, we could use some sand to create a nice, an ancient rune in the desert. Okay. Or we could go with some black rock here to create a more demonic or hellish ambience. All right. So keep in mind that those structures will work well only at very large scales. This tool was set up in YAG to create large terrains, not small intimate things, so we are always limited by the 1 meter precision. And for the moment at least, this cannot be modified in YAG. Alright, I'm going to stop this video here. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next. Bye!